Happy Sunday, everyone. How are you doing? I hope no matter where you are this weekend, that you are safe, that you are warm. In my neck of the woods, it's this little thing of frizzle and snow. Doesn't know what it wants to be yet. Contrary to the song Frozen, I do not want to build a snowman. I don't want to go and play. Um, Snow is not something that I look forward to. However, you have to understand, just like in seasons, in nature, and in life, there are certain seasons that come your way. And in every season, you grow with it. So right now, I'm just going to embrace it, stay inside. If there's a movie that y'all can recommend, please put it in the comments because everyone that I have tried this weekend, I have come up on zero. So if there's a good movie that you know, so if there's a good movie that you know of and you can recommend, please put it in the comments because, like I said, I have come up on zero in every one that I have tried, except for Encanto. But that's a whole discussion for another Disney day. I was very pleased with watching Encanto. So if you have a movie that you actually watched the whole one and you didn't fall asleep on or nothing like that, tell me about it because I need something to watch. So without further ado, because I know you got to get back to cooking dinner, folding clothes, and everything else, what we're going to spend a few minutes talking about today is keto diet versus intermittent fasting. And the biggest difference between the two is one is a how to eat and the other is a when to eat. Um, so that's the difference of the two. But more than anything, before we go into the differences between the two, regardless of which path you pick, it's going to come down to remaining consistent to the diet or whichever plan you pick. Um, Ron Gone Wrong is cute. Oh, is that on Netflix, Donna? Is that on Amazon? Y'all gotta let me know. So it'll come down to consistency. It'll come down to your budget. It'll come down to who else is in the house with you. Because if you have little people, the keto may not work because you have to figure out how you're going to budget for your groceries as well as little people. If you have other things going on with your schedule, if you don't know if you're going to be consistent, intermittent fasting may not be for you. So it's going to come down to pretty much deciding what you can do realistically and what you can do with it consistency. Now, when I say consistency, I don't mean you do it for like 3 days and you throw the whole plan away because you're like, oop, it didn't work for me. I'm talking about actually putting a committed effort to it for at least 30 days to decide what works for you. Now, the first one we're going to jump into is intermittent fasting. And intermittent fasting doesn't tell you what to eat, it tells you when to eat. That is the beauty of intermittent fasting, where you can decide on your schedule and ebb and flow of which one will work for you. So intermittent fasting doesn't give you a meal plan. It doesn't give you a meal prep idea. It doesn't give you all these rules and regulations that you have to follow to be successful. Intermittent fasting gives you parameters in which should work for you to eat. The most popular version is the 16-18 method. And what the 16-18 is that for your 24-hour period, you have 8 hours continuous. You don't two here, two here, two here. It is you pick your 8-hour window in which you want to eat. So that could be however your day may go. So with the 16-18, I have found that a lot of people prefer to use the 16-18 because you have your 8-hour window to eat, and then you don't eat again for 16 hours. So if you have a job where you have a swing shift, that midday shift, that may work for you. If you know you're going to go out that weekend, you can pick and choose where you want your 8 hours to go. And that gives you the flexibility to decide where you want it to be. Another popular method is called the 5-2, which means for 5 days a week, you eat normally. And for 2 days, you consume like 500 to 600 calories. And that's when you have mainly like your liquid diets. The key to the 5 and 2 is that you don't do those things back to back. So you don't decide Monday through Friday, you're going to go regular 5 days, and then Saturday and Sunday, you're going to go 5 and 2. It's normally you will decide on which non-consecutive days. So it may be a Tuesday or Thursday that you put in your schedule that allows you to fulfill that. So as you see right now off the beginning with intermittent fasting, you have more options to choose from in doing that. Now, one thing, let's see, the side effects. No. Side effects. I had to find it. Intermittent fasting may slightly boost your metabolism while eating fewer calories. Now, everything has shown that this is a great way and an effective way to lose weight and belly fat. So some of the side effects or benefits will be your weight loss, inflammation, that there are certain foods that you may consume that cause inflammation. So when you're starting to change your diet and hone in on certain things, you may see inflammation decrease. You may also notice that if you start picking up weight, your joints are starting to hurt. You may start noticing a decrease in that. So overall, with your intermittent fasting, again, this is a program that tells you when to eat, but not what to eat. Now, the downside that I have seen a lot of people do with intermittent fasting is that, yes, you pick your 8 hours, but you don't change nothing about your diet. So you still just out here reckless in your 8 hours. So in your 8 hours, you still have to make a concerted effort to have a balanced meal plan. Yes, Donna, I have had many coworkers that will sit and tell me that they were doing the IF, the intermittent fasting, but then nothing about the diet change, nothing about the day change. They just said, well, I'm doing intermittent fasting. Oh, okay. So with intermittent fasting, you still have to make a concerted effort to be mindful about your consumption, to be mindful about your water intake. Just eat clean and hit the gym. Yes, but you know what? Sometimes with some people, that may be a struggle. So it's one of those that we're finding along our way what works for everyone. Because again, if you have small children, if we're in the backdrop of the variants with the Marion, for those Omicron variant, there are different nuances. So we want to make sure we not pigeonhole people or make them feel guilty if their schedules don't allow certain things to ebb and flow. So when we're looking at that, understand that with the intermittent fasting, it tells you when you should eat. The most popular version of the intermittent fasting program is the 16-18. 16 hours fasting, 8 hours where you still make a concerted effort to have nutritious, balanced meals along with a sound workout plan. Because you don't want it to just be where I'm just going to eat these 8 hours and you're not making an effort to try. Because when you look at your meal plans, you know what you're eating that you should not have in your meal plan. So for this intermittent fasting to work, you have to actually put in the work to make it happen. So whether you do keto or intermittent, you have to sit down and have an honest dialogue with yourself to go, am I going to do the work to try? That doesn't mean you sneak off the Hardee's, you sneak off the Chick-fil-A and say, well, I'm in my 8 hours. You still have to make a decision of how bad do you want your next? And with sometimes wanting your next comes having to make a sacrifice to get your next. The next is the ketogenic diet. This is a very popular diet. This is one that tells you this is the what to eat of it all. We just talked about the when. The keto is the what to eat from everyday health. The ketogenic diet is based on a principle that by depleting the body of carbs, which is the primary source of energy, you can force the body to burn fat for fuel, thereby maximizing weight loss. So what you're telling your body is that I'm not going to give you a lot of carbs, so I'm going to force the body to activate what's there. So when you have that, it is a low carb diet. This is one that has taken on many iterations throughout the years. You've heard some people back in the day, it was called the Atkins diet. Then it was something else. Then it was something else. This is the most recent iteration of the low carb diet. The keto diet for weight loss is based on the idea that driving the body into ketosis will maximize fat loss. So by not having so many carbs, you're forcing the body to deplete its stored energy, its stored fat for energy instead of carbs. So instead of having the carbs, you're asking your body to burn off what's there. Now, a lot of times when you hear people say this is not to be confused with the diabetic ketoacidosis. That's a very bad condition, and if you know someone that has had to deal with that, I had someone in my family that had that happen, ended up in ICU. We're talking about ketosis. Now, one thing that I have seen with the keto diet is that a lot of people, when they start going through the journey, they will experience what's called the keto flu. And with the keto flu, what ends up happening is that your body, for lack of better words, is going into shock because you don't have your normal source of carbs. And so your body's trying to figure out what ends up happening. And it is similar to a cold where you have the fatigue, you have the lightheadedness. Let me see if I can find all the symptoms. You have fatigue, you have lightheadedness, you feel like you are sick. Because again, your body is going through that experience of not having the carbs. So it's in turn trying to figure out what is happening. Now, something that I learned the other day, because I've not done the keto diet before, is that the way you can decide if you're in ketosis is that you can complete a urine test. And in that urine test, you do what you need to do on the little swab, and the swab will turn a certain color to let you know that you are, in fact, in ketosis. So then that way you can decide where you are. Again, with the keto diet, they have a list of what you can have, what you cannot have in order to remain in that state. So if you're going to follow the keto diet, I would suggest that you sit down and figure out what you should have, what you can have, what you can't have, and then see how you can incorporate that into your budget and into your family. Because again, if it's just you that's going the keto route and the rest of your family may not be, you have to consider the budget constraints of that also with your family, as well as can you realistically afford to make your meal and their meal. is that something that you can sustain? Because that can be taxing in a household, whether it's you, a partner, caregiving someone else, and then little people. Can you realistically sustain trying to keep a keto diet up for yourself in addition to cooking for other people? That can become expensive, and that can become tiring if you're in a space right now, if you're taking care of school age kids, elderly parents, everything else, that can become tiring. Hey, beautiful. So again, not to dissuade you, but just to make you make sure that you are aware of the requirements that you need. Is keto dangerous for kids? I have never heard of really kids being introduced to keto, but I will, let me write that down and I will look up and find out for you. Keto for kids. Because I honestly have not seen anyone suggest keto for kids, but I will go and make sure, because in all my reading, I've not seen anyone target kids in keto. So the keto diet, it is a high fat and very low carb eating plan. And it can be difficult, not impossible. It can be difficult to start. So with that, make sure you are aware of what you can have, what you shouldn't have, and can you sustain it. Now, one question that was presented when I was doing my research is some people wonder, can you combine the two? Can, if I'm intermittent fasting, during my fasting period, squeeze in the keto aspect? And in some spaces, I have done in the research that some people have actually done that in their 8 hours, they use the keto diet to maintain their parameters. So when they had their 8 hours, they used the rules of the keto. There's really, there really not a hard, fast rule that says you shouldn't. Because in the research, it says intermittent fasting may help your body reach keto quicker than the keto diet alone. Because again, that's because your body, when fasting, maintains its energy balance by shifting its fuel source from carbs to fat, the exact premise of the keto diet. So if you're opting to go the keto route and you also want to add the intermittent fasting to keep yourself in your parameters, there's nothing in my research that I saw that you couldn't. So if you're trying to figure out, can you marry the best of both worlds? Yes, you can. But again, in your 8 hour window, you have to decide your 8 hour window, or the 16-8 method, or the 5 and 2. So you will have to decide how it's going to work out for your diet and how it's going to work out for your schedule. Also, in my research, it says that for anyone who struggles to reach ketosis while on the keto diet, adding intermittent fasting may effectively jumpstart your process. So again, you do have options. You do have ways to make this happen, but it'll come down to consistency, your budget, and factoring in, is this something that you can have? Will you have to go it alone? Because if you have other folks that you have to take into consideration in your household, this may be something that I would encourage you to talk about with other people before you just decide, you know what, it's January, I'm gonna hit this keto. I don't know what y'all gonna eat, but this is what we eat today. So before you spring that on other people, have that dialogue first to see that let's talk about it. Combining the two may lead to more fat loss, because intermittent fasting boosts metabolism by promoting heat production. Your body may start utilizing stubborn fat areas. So from what I've read and all the sites I went to look at, there's not anything that I saw where it is a lose-lose. It comes down to, if you are pregnant, breastfeeding, or if you have disordered eating, intermittent fasting should not be something that you consider. And I always include disordered eating. I don't say I never say disorder an eating disorder. Um, if you have disordered eating, which means you have a struggle with your relationship for food, intermittent fasting may further amplify your problems with disordered eating. So again, that's only something that you and your doctor should know. So if you have had a history of disordered eating, intermittent fasting is not something that's recommended. Some people that find fasting on the keto diet too difficult, you may find yourself overeating. So this is one of those things that before you go either route, have a goal. Because I'm big on goals. And sit down and figure out what you can realistically accomplish with your goals. That is this something that you can stick with? Do you have a job that will allow you to have non-consecutive fasting days with no food? That if you are in machinery, heavy lifting, a liquid diet may not be for you those days because you're going to jeopardize yourself and others. Do you have a space where you can do 8 consecutive hours? Can you decide it? Because I know on one level, it comes down to, can you sustain it? Because regardless of which one you pick, it's going to come down to consistency and dedication to the process. We always have the memes and all the gifts that say trust the process. For either route you pick, it's going to come down to you trusting the process. And I say process more than 72 hours, but actually deciding for 30 days, you're going to try both. Either one you pick, you're going to try both. But however, be aware that if you go the keto route, you are going to experience the keto flu. And that's your body's way. That's your body making that adjustment from high carb to low carb and throwing your body into ketosis. And it's going to feel like the fatigue, the nausea, the headaches because you're detoxing your body. So I don't know anyone that has been on the keto diet that has not experienced it. So if you're going the keto diet route, the keto flu will be in your future. Not to discourage you from going to keto, but understanding that it is a part of the path. As they say on The Mandalorian, it is the way. It is the way. So if you are prepared, then it is the way. I miss The Mandalorian and Baby Yoda. Okay, focus. Coming back. So that is all I had for tonight. The differences of our first versus battle, keto versus keto versus intermittent fasting. There's not a right way or a wrong one. It comes down to what you feel is best for you. That is the biggest takeaway of the whole evening. The keto diet, the ketosis versus intermittent fasting, and combining the two will be, Grace, why are you laughing at me? It is the way. It is the way. It is the way. With Baby Yoda, Grogu. I miss Grogu too. Back. It'll come down to, well, thank you. It'll come down to you and what you can realistically decide that you can do. Only thing that I ask is that you actually try and give it a full effort, because part of making a change is committing this thing to yourself, making a commitment to yourself. If you need an accountability partner, you can call me. I'll be your accountability buddy. I know, right? Donna, I get distracted real quick. I'll be like, ooh, shawty thing. And I'll be someplace else. So I gotta rein it in. So it'll come down to your diet, your health choices, what you can realistically be sustainable. If you need an accountability partner, I am here for you. If you need more information, I'm here for you. If you all have some more movie recommendations, let me know, because it's I don't know what's doing outside, but I can't go outside. Um, I haven't been out and checked my mailbox in 3 days because I'm not going out there. Whatever's out there is out there. But if you have some good movies, put them in the comments. Because I hadn't come up snake eyes this whole weekend. I tried The Witcher on Netflix. I tried something else. Um, help you, help your girl, help your friend out, because I'm running out of stuff. Looks like I'm watching Matlock. So just let me know. Have a wonderful, if you are off tomorrow, have a wonderful MLK holiday. Be safe. If you're going out to do a day of service, practice kindness, practice humility, but let's keep the tenets of Dr. King in the forefront, that we all, little TT, I'm going to take the day off for you. So whatever you do tomorrow, whether it's a day of service, or if weather allows, or if you're in the house, be mindful that, and put in the back of your mind that tomorrow, we honor the architect of the civil rights movement, and enjoy your day. Be it watching a movie, watching a broadcast, serving the community, whatever you do, be safe, be amazing. And I will see you next week. I can't remember what the topic is next week. It's in my other planner. I think next week we're doing a home gym demo, or is that the week after? I don't know. Just know I'll be back. So have a wonderful evening. Be blessed. Be amazing. See y'all next Sunday. Be safe.